This is coming from Drake Wally. That's at D Walster Drake. Do you really believe that sitting Anthony Richardson for year 3 can benefit him, regardless of what happens with DJ? It seems they've greatly overestimated their ability to develop such an inexperienced and raw quarterback. I just think Drake has gotten to the point where some of the mistakes, some of the missteps that you were willing to absorb when he was a younger player, you're less willing to absorb now. What I mean by that is, and I've said this a few times in relation to the Browns quarterback situation, when a quarterback enters the huddle, he's got a responsibility to the other 10 guys in that huddle, that he's going to be able to get the play call out, that he's going to be able to get the team lined up, that he's going to be able to make all the adjustments that need to be made, that he's going to be able to see the field well enough to make the proper play when he's throwing the ball. So much of the success of the other 10 guys in that huddle ride on the ability of the young quarterback to execute that. And I think veterans understand that if you've got a first year or a second year quarterback in the huddle and you get him out there, there are going to be some bumps. And, hopefully if you got a quarterback who's good enough to play that early, there's going to be some things he can do physically that'll help him overcome those bumps, that'll get him through those bumps. And I just think the benefit of having Anthony Richardson from a physical standpoint out there was no longer outweighing some of the things that they were having to manage because his growth hadn't come along quick enough. And, they were really hoping when they benched him and then brought him back last year that the light would turn on. And it did to a degree. Like he did wind up, putting his pedal to the metal to some degree from a work ethic standpoint, a little bit more than he had in the past. But I think the issue for them was the mistakes kept coming and there wasn't the level of progress that they needed. And so for those other 10 guys in the huddle, are you giving them the best answer? And, when I was talking to their coaches over the summer, really what they were looking for was somebody who could come in and just operate the offense at a high level. If you can make plays, fine. But they felt like they've got the talent there up to a level now, even losing Will Fries and Ryan Kelly in the offensive line, with the 3 receivers that they put together, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, and Alec Pierce. And, we'll see what they get from A.D. Mitchell with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. They really felt like they just needed somebody who'd come out and run the offense at a high level. And that was going to be the bar, who can put their hands at 10-2 and operate the offense. And Daniel Jones did a better job of that. And so, I think if you look at Shane Steichen's history, you look at Jim Bob Cooter's history, you look what they've been able to do at the quarterback position over the years. You look at what Shane was able to do in building an offense for Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. You look at the year he was able to get out of Justin Herbert when Herbert was a rookie with the Chargers. I think it's really hard to look at him and say that guy can't develop a young quarterback. I think at some point you have to put this in the player. And I think that point for the Colts came now was, we've had the training wheels on for long enough. Last year, we wanted to put together a quarterback room that was going to support him, and Joe Flacco was going to come in and be a support system for him. And this year, it was, now you got to compete. The job isn't yours. You're not on scholarship anymore. You got to come out and you got to compete and you got to win the job. And ultimately, he wasn't able to do that. And so for a coach in his 3rd year, for a general manager in his 9th year, who only has been to the playoff twice, this is a really important season. And by the way, that team won 8 games last year, despite being 29th in the league in total defense and 30th in giveaways. And so they feel like if they can clean up those 2 areas, they brought in Lou Anarumo to clean up the defense, and they need to play cleaner on offense, then they can be a playoff team. And obviously they felt like it just wasn't going to work with Anthony Richardson in there at quarterback if they wanted to make the improvements they wanted to make.